All right, so what happened was, why there's a part two instead of this being one video, is because my dumbass hit the stop button instead of the pause button on the video recording. So anyways, this is where we're at. Like I said before, I was going to finish up the ends of the cables. Here you go. Got the eyelets. Got the eyelets right here on the cable ends. There you go, there's the positive. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tape these up with red on red and with black tape on black tape. You can use heat shrink if you want to. It's a better option. I didn't want to. Really don't care to. No need to. Anyways, this will work just fine with tape. The reason you want to tape the ends of them and everything, you're going to tape them up too close to the eyelet, is because in case for some reason they come loose, or you're putting them in, or you're hooking it up to the battery, you're going to cause possibly an arc with the positive cable because it's so close to the wall of the truck, and you could be touching it, and then you go to hook the negative, and then you fry your battery, possibly overheat your battery, blow it up, depending on how long you hold it on there, causing damage possibly to the vehicle for grounding out surges and all that crap. Make sure you clean your original battery cables on these. This is a 2003 Chevrolet Silverado with the screw in post. Now what I do is, since I do this on all the side screw in post Chevy batteries like this, your golf carts use the same thing. Generally your Easy Goes and your Cushmans and all that use the same type of battery, but they have small bolts in them is what they use, with flat washers on them. What I do is I use a 3/8 coarse thread 9/16 head grade 8 bolt, and you're going to use these nuts here are a different kind of nut. They're actually a 11/16, but you're going to get 9/16, so then you can use two 9/16 wrenches. I had the availability of these sitting around, so I use these. The reason for these is they're about, let's say inch and a half long, and you put them through your two terminals, hand screw them into your battery, hand screw them, do not tighten them down with a wrench on the head of the bolt. Do not tighten it down into the battery, because you will strip the threads out of the battery, and then you're SOL. You can go to a larger size and rethread it, whatever, but then you're going through all that process. So to keep that, avoid that from happening. And also the other thing too is, if you don't want quick connect jumper cables and you use these, it makes it a lot easier to hook a standard set of jumper cables to these, rather than those little stubby lead threaded terminals that they give you from factory. Now I'm going to wrap this up. Now on these Chevys, the way I do it is I remove the driver's side headlight and running light and your turn signal, just to make it easy, and then I feed the cables in through here on there, and then go underneath the grill right here, fasten it to the bumper here, and I just use self tappers. You can drill this out, put bolts in if you want to, with lock washers and all that crap if you want to. I just use the self tappers, the stainless self tappers. These are long ones. You don't have to have them this long. You only need about 1.5 inches long. These ones are like 2.5 inches, 3 inches long. I just used them because I had them. So anyways, I feed it up through there, go in front of the oil cooler and all that, and the condenser and everything, come up through where your headlight bulb, high beam headlight bulb pocket is, feed that through so you're not screwing up your air dampener and all that stuff and insulation. And what I do is I made these cables a little too long. I usually do, just so I have room to play with them. What I'll do is I'll feed this cable through a little more after I get it hooked up to the battery, And what I do is I'll zip tie them off to this plastic here just to keep them from rubbing into this wiring harness for your high beam headlight. So I'm going to tape these up and see if I can put y'all where you can watch. And I'm going to tape up this one, the positive, and then I'm going to tape up the negative, and then I'm going to hook them to the battery. So it's not a very good view. Not a very good view. Ugh, using a phone stinks. Oh my god. I'm just knocking y'all all around. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you can see that. I've already cleaned these terminals. So let me see what I did with my tape. There it is. Right where I could see it. In plain sight, and still missed it. So we'll tape this up like so. I wrap it several times just to give it a good thick insulation, like, you know, heat shrink would, which would be so much simpler. Generally I use a heat gun for heat shrink. I do use the little, for the heat shrink butt end connectors and electrical connectors, I do use the torches, the little handheld crack pipe torches, or whatever you want to call them. I buy mine off the internet because I can buy them in a bundle for dirt cheap, and I use them a lot when I'm doing electrical for the heat shrink connectors and the heat shrink over the connectors. And you can make this as clean as you want to, or as fancy as you want to. I don't, particularly on service trucks, because who the hell cares? What matters on a service truck is that it's functional, and that's all that matters. And if you have problems getting this cables to feed down in here, pull this positive on the other side of the battery, on the passenger side of the battery that you've got running through here for your quick connect jumper cables, and then hand screw the two terminals, hand screw the 3/8 bolt, and then tighten that nut down by hand as far as you can. And then you'll hold the head of the bolt with one wrench and tighten down the nut, snug it down. Don't over torque it. You just want to make it good and snug where it's got a good connection, good tight connection. You don't want it super overpowered because you don't want to tear anything up. Now there is one thing, when you disconnect your battery on these Chevys, there is a possibility that it will go into safety mode and say, you know, unknown key available or some shit like that, or it says unknown driver, I think it is. If you have that, just take your positive and negative off, hold your positive and negative together for 10 seconds, count to 10 Mississippi, and then let them go and hook up your positive, and then hook up your negative, and then that should fix your problem. If that doesn't fix your problem with the security issue because you disconnected your battery, there is a procedure where you go through, and it's like a 30-minute and 30-second process And you can look that up. There's several people that's put that on the internet and put it on the internet and done all kinds of tutorials on that and how to do it and everything. So I'm not going to go through that process with y'all because there ain't no point. I do not know what the links are to those people, but it's basically a process where you put the key in, put the truck in the on position for 30 seconds, the ACC position, and then you take it and turn it off after 30 minutes. You put or 10 minutes, 10 minutes in the on position of the ACC position, and then you turn it off and for 10 seconds, count 10 Mississippi, then turn it back on and on for another 10 minutes, back to off after that 10 minutes for 10 seconds, 10 Mississippi, and then put it on for another 30 minutes and then off for 10 seconds, and then you should be able to start the vehicle.